Hello again. I'm back doing another episode of Morbid News. This time we're doing a movie review about Jordan Peele's Us. I literally just saw it. Left the theater about an hour ago, not even. So everything is very fresh in my mind. And we're going to talk about it. So if you haven't seen the film, I suggest you stop now, go see it, and then come back to me later, because it's definitely worth a watch, and there be spoilers ahead. So keep that in mind. But if you have seen it and you want to hear what this rando person on the internet thinks about it, keep watching. Okay, so let's talk about Us. A phrase I have said to many men over the years, which has usually ended in them saying they are not looking for a committed relationship at all. I don't understand why nobody wants to date me.
Ew, oh my god.
I date me. All my exes are dead. Just kidding. They're just dead to me. Let's talk about Us for real. So I was very excited about this film when I heard about it maybe a few months ago, and I watched a trailer for it. They had that great Put a 5 on It track, which they like remixed and made sound creepy and cool, and I was like, hell yeah, let's make this hip hop track into some creepy horror movie music, which, you know, that is me to a T. If you don't know, that now you know. So yeah, I was very excited. I was a huge fan of Get Out. I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peele. I think, honestly, I was like, even just after seeing Get Out, I thought, you know, he could be like the next Hitchcock. Like, he could poise himself to become this like horror movie professional, this guy who just like knocks it out of the park. Obviously, Get Out was very much about racism, and it was like this crazy allegory for racism that was, you know, shown through this gaze of horror and how scary it can be to, you know, be a person of color and this white world, and that's a horror in of itself, I'm sure. Again, I'm white. I can't say for myself what that's like, but like that movie had so many good things about it. So many, you know, the acting was great. The whole story was fascinating, and I thought he just understood how horror should be. It shouldn't just be jump scares for jump scares. It shouldn't be this, you know, it doesn't have to be so complicated, but it should say something. It should have a point, you know. It should make you care about the characters, because if people are dying and they're just getting slashed, and you know, and there's no person behind there, there's no character, there's no development, then you're not getting anything. So, I mean, some of my favorite horror films are like, in recent years was The Witch, which almost had no jump scares, and it was slow. It was like just about mood, and I think he's really good at setting a tone. So I knew going into this film that it was going to at least be good. Like, I knew that at least he knows how to tell a story. He knows how to develop characters, and he did all that in this film. What I really liked about this movie was, honestly, the casting. The acting was great. I thought Lupita Nyong'o was like just out of this world. Like, she plays two characters. She plays the mom, and then she plays like the evil mom, and like her as the evil mom was insane. It was insanely good. She just like, everyone in this film, when they, you know, the doppelgangers were so crazy-eyed, and I was like, how did they do this? They must have like sprayed them in the face with salt and then told them to keep their eyes open for like a solid minute, and then we're like, and action, you know. It was like, everyone's like that for like the entire movie. It was great. I have a feeling that people will like this movie, but I think that it's a little bit harder to digest. I remember when I saw Get Out, immediately, you know, at the end of the movie, it's like this happy ending. Like, the guy gets away, and you're like, yeah, you know, get out. You got out. You completed the mission. In this movie, the mission was a little vague. It kind of takes a while for it to unravel, and then once you see it and you're like, oh, okay, like, I get it. To me, it was like an allegory about mental health and post-traumatic stress, or just, especially some kind of a stressful event or abuse as a child, and how it affects you. It can literally make you a different person. I mean, the spoiler at the end is that you find out that the mom's character was actually the one from this like underworld, this subway underworld that had taken the place of the other little girl at the very beginning. And so they make that switch, and that's why this doppelganger one at the that came from down below can speak, and it is like she's out for revenge. She's like, I want to go back into this world of day where I'm from, that I remember. But I think it's also like, it feels like it's a fight against yourself. It's a fight against your own soul even. It's like you have your good part and your bad part, and you're like literally fighting against this person, your own self, constantly, and trying to defeat the bad parts of yourself, so that only the good remains. So in that way, I think it's relatable to everyone. I think that he did a great job of that. It's rare. I don't think I can remember a horror movie being so much about psychological, like, well-being. It's about, I'm sure there's plenty of films. There's plenty of films that are psychological thrillers. There's plenty of films that delve into, like, are you crazy? Like, am I imagining this? Do I have multiple personalities? Do I have any number of these, like, psychological things? But this isn't about that. This is more of like, I know that I'm literally fighting myself in this situation, and I hate that. There's a lot of hate between the characters and their doppelgangers. It's like there's never like a let's understand each other. It's a complete like, no, I want revenge, I want murder, I want to destroy all that you are so I can remain. And I thought that was very interesting. There's some really, really great scenes in this film. Tim Heidecker really like knocked it out of the park in this one, and I feel like a lot of it wasn't even he was acting. He was just kind of being Tim Heidecker, and it's probably why he got cast in this role, because he's supposed to be kind of an a-hole, and like, he's just like this dweeby dad. There's this one scene where the Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss family are like in their house, and then you can see their doppelgangers through the glass. And this is the first time you find out that it's not just the first family that has doppelgangers. It's like the entire world, or at least all of America, has doppelgangers. Yeah. So this is the first time you see these other doppelgangers, and all they do is they literally walk in and just start murdering, and it's like, holy crap, like out of nowhere. It's just like Murder City. Let's just like slice and dice up this entire family, which I'm into it. And then there's a scene with the little girl, and she's fighting her doppelganger, and her doppelganger like hides behind the car, and you're like, where'd she go? Where'd she go? And then the dude comes out, and he's like, hey, get off my car. Yo, girl, get off my car. And then she just like stabs him, which is also great. If I had to rate this movie out of 10, I think I would give it like an 8. In terms of horror film, this is a great horror film. There's a lot of things that you see throughout the movie at the beginning, and you're like, I don't understand, where is this going? And then when you see the whole thing and you think back, and you're like, okay, I get it. Like, there wasn't just like random stuff. Like, there was purpose to everything that you saw. I will say the beginning, like, opening credit sequence is like very dramatic, which I love. I love the music, but it was like kind of slow. In general, I actually loved the music throughout the film. It kind of reminded me of old-timey horror films, like a Hitchcock film. There'd be like, strings, but they weren't like the strings you get a lot in horror movies these days. It was like very dramatic, like almost too much, and you're like, but I like it, because it just like, it brings me back to that kind of thing, that kind of Hitchcock music that you would hear, like that very stereotypical horror film music, but like not the way that people are doing it now. It was like kind of more like 50s, 40s kind of situation, which I like. This movie, the only reason it's not 10 for me is because I still don't quite understand the hands across America thing, which I'm sure someone, please explain to me. I get that that was something that she saw when she was like 5, and that's probably the only thing that she could remember, and it was on her shirt when she was abducted basically and kidnapped, put down below. But like it felt like a weird thing that I guess she was using as like her like raison d'etre. Like it was like this, she's like, I'm gonna get everyone to gather them up and then put them up on the surface and we're gonna hold hands. But it just didn't really make sense after a while. Like if they're, were they just gonna go around killing everyone and then just stand there holding hands? Like I think I just need a little more than that. And then also they don't explain how all these people were down there or who was putting them down there. She says humans, but she doesn't go into any more detail, which makes sense. She doesn't know. But also it's kind of like, well, we're not going to get any kind of explanation for that. So in my head, maybe it's just like an allegory. This is just like a, God did this, or whoever, it was like it was an allegory for just how, people's souls, there's two different sides to people or whatever it is. And so I'm willing to like forgive that, but I think those are my only concerns. The dad was a weird character. I liked him a lot, but he was like almost too funny sometimes, and you're kind of like, yo, be serious. Yeah, I'd say I give this movie a solid 8. I think I liked Get Out more because it was a little bit easier to digest. This movie, I feel like I'm gonna need to rewatch it a few more times to really understand all of the nuances, but I do think that it is a really great film that could open discussion up for childhood trauma and how it affects people mentally and emotionally, and I think that's very important. And I'm like, bravo, Jordan Peele, for making a film about something that is just not an easy topic to discuss. So maybe we can broach a topic if you'd like to discuss in the comments, or talk to me about what you felt about the movie, what you think it's about, or you think I'm totally wrong and that, it's terrible or so much more amazing than I'm saying it is. I enjoyed it. I will watch anything that Jordan Peele does at this point because I do trust him, especially with horror. I think horror is a very hard genre to nail, especially long form horror. I think sometimes shorter horror, short film horror is easier to do because sometimes it's just like, just one idea can carry you for a few minutes rather than like an hour and a half or 2 hours. 2 hours is a long time to do like one horror idea. That's why I think a lot of people are doing these like short form movies like VHS, where it's just all these vignettes instead of like a full length horror. But I'm rambling now. But if you like this review or have any more morbid news you'd like to send my way so I can report on maybe next week, I'm gonna try to do these weekly. But yeah, this was fun, and see you in the next one.